This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Welcome to Season 3 of Truly Independent. I'm Garrett Batty alongside my co-host Darren Smith. Each week, we'll go in-depth with guests, industry experts, and we'll even share our own experiences, all with the goal of demystifying the independent film process. This season, it's all about the script, from the first spark of an idea to a polished final draft, breaking it down for scheduling, budgeting, and ultimately shooting. We'll walk through every step it takes to get from page to production. Welcome to Truly Independent.
Garrett, there you are.
Here, live and in person and online, but not live. How are you?
I'm a person. Are you not a person? Am I talking to Garrett AI now?
I am live and in person, but you're listening to this. Listeners are listening to this long after it's been recorded.
Yeah, a whole week or so. No, I love it. It's good to see you, man. What have you been up to this last week? You've been busy.
Let's see. I've been busy doing kind of client maintenance stuff. So a lot of editing and post, and we do a lot of trailers here at 3Coin. And so we've been cutting some trailers for some fun independent movies.
Nice.
And yeah, so it's been just been in the edit bay. How about you?
I have been here at my desk making phone calls and taking phone calls and having phone calls with people. So it's been a lot of meetings, but it's highlighted a principle that we're going to talk about today in the episode, which I'm very excited about, which I think will be helpful for the audience. But you also went to a premiere this week.
Oh, Darren, yeah. I am excited to talk about that episode, the principle, because I know what you're going to bring up, and it's crucial that we talk about it. But before we do that, I want to tease, first of all, we're going to talk about NRB eventually later in this episode. But before that, I want to talk about the premiere I went to. We featured Tanner Christensen on the podcast a few weeks ago. If you have not heard his episode, I'd encourage you to listen to it. And he produced and directed and wrote his feature-length documentary, Standing Out. And I enjoyed talking with Tanner a lot. But it was before I had seen the movie. I went to the premiere and was blown away throughout the movie multiple times. And credit to Tanner, he is not selling, there's no way he could oversell this movie. It's amazing, and he's done an incredible job. So and it releases in theaters this week. So if you get a chance to go see Standing Out, I guess make an effort to go see it.
That's awesome.
It's very good.
I need to figure out how to get on these email lists when people are sending out invites to premiere.
Yeah,
because I am not invited.
I think they just know that I can't afford it. So
that's a better story for me. Thank you. No, I love it. I've heard nothing but good things about that project, and a lot of people were at that premiere, and it's exciting to see the success of that already. It sounds like it's going to have really good word of mouth. It's hitting that community really well. I'm excited.
And and I just don't want to blow smoke, just the narrative storytelling that he told in a documentary is more. Sometimes we just show up and call it, phone it in. Oh, it's a documentary. We're going to put some talking heads and add some music and B-roll. That's not the case. He's gone in depth when he says, I've been working on this for 4 years. You can see it. Wow, there's a symbolism and intention, stories and arcs and redemptions, and it's incredible. Great job.
That's so exciting. I love movies, and I love good movies, and I love good movies made by our friends. So
yeah,
there's all of those things.
Well, this is Wonder meets Rocky in a documentary style.
Oh man,
it's incredible.
Can't wait.
Okay, all right. Now, so thank you for letting me and indulging me on that a little bit. But you want to talk about this recurring principle that we've noticed in 25 years of making independent film, and you've put a great cap phrase on it.
Yeah, I think it really applies to both of us. I'm excited to see how it's played out in your life, but it's definitely played out in mine. And so I want to kind of use our histories as the way to tell this principle. And so let's start with the principle, and then I'll start on my journey, and then we can ping pong back and forth, I think. Because I think as we talk about this, we'll remember even more times where this principle was true in our lives. So the principle is, solve bigger problems. And the reason this came up, and I've since written about it and thought a lot about this idea, is I got some emails from people too in the last week saying, I'm really good and I don't understand why I'm not being picked. Or I have all this experience and I really want to be doing feature films, but I'm doing this instead. And why am I not getting these opportunities? And I was trying to come up with a single punchy answer. And my answer is you got to solve bigger problems. So let's pause there and let people digest that idea. What comes to mind for you, Garrett, when I share that?
My immediate kind of nature says, "Oh, that good. That gives me a good excuse to make bigger problems." But that's probably not what you're going at with that.
You never know. We might get there.
No, I like that. And what comes to mind, honestly, is I mentioned last week I was in the edit bay editing trailers and keeping the bills paid through client maintenance and client work, which is great and nice to do. If I want to get out of that, or if I want to be able to hire somebody to do that, then I need to look at a bigger problem than how am I going to make my whatever? How am I going to keep the bills paid?
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you're
No,
going with that?
definitely. I
Good.
think so. And we'll expand on it. Excuse me. So I go all the way back to the first time that I got paid to do artistic stuff. I was playing saxophone growing up. I played saxophone in junior high and high school, and we started a little jazz band in high school. And my dad was really good at this because he drives all the time for his. Oh, I just went out of focus, but he drives all the time for his work, and he would be out and about thinking about how do we. I'm going to pause because this is really bothering me. Why?
Just want to step in. There you go. So
Oh,
okay, go ahead.
yeah. So in high school, I started this jazz band with some friends that I played music with. And my dad was really good at this because he was out and about driving all the time for his work. And he'd see grand opening signs. And so he would go up to like a Winco or a, a car wash or any of these things and say, hey, do you guys need a band of high schoolers to play at your grand opening? And this is not a problem they had. It's not like they were actively searching for a band to play at their grand opening, but Winco was the first, like, it was a grocery store grand opening in Sacramento, California. This is probably 1999 or something like that, 2000. And they hired us as a band for like $250 to play for an hour at the grand opening. So each of us walked away with $50. And at that point, I was a professional saxophone player because I had been paid to play saxophone. But that was a very small problem, which is why it had a very small budget. It wasn't actually a problem. It was just a nice to have. And so if I had stayed on that path, I would still be solving that same problem. Do you need someone to play music for you at a venue or at a gig or on a Friday night where we have jazz? Maybe it's a little bit bigger problem because we have 150 dancers coming and they want a live band. And so we can pay you a little bit more. But really, it's the same problem, just a slightly larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the first time I maybe had a contact with this principle. I definitely didn't understand it at the time, but I was solving a small problem. And so the upside, as far as financially or career wise, was not that big.
Okay. Okay, so relating then to indie film, I'm an independent filmmaker and I want to solve a problem. And I think that going back in that mindset of you're saying, hey, let's review our trajectories years ago before I made my first feature. And there's always that, it seems like there's always a question like, how do I get in my first feature? I had started a production company, 3Coin, and our focus was we did a lot of DVD design, DVD menu, DVD behind the scenes stuff, prepping, all of that bonus footage. And then we did a lot of corporate stuff. The problem then for that I kept running into is I want to make a feature. Like, how do I just make my feature? I realized, Darren, this story might not apply to what you're doing because the problem was my own, right? You're saying, how do I solve a problem for a client or an investor or a donor or whatever? So anyway, that was the big problem. How would you solve that? What would you tell me in that scenario? I'm running a company. We've got 5 full-time employees. I'm spending all my time focused on how I'm going to feed the beast that I've created as far as getting more projects, bringing them in, and bigger projects and better. My clients certainly weren't looking for feature films to be made, but my passion, my heart was hey, we're going to make a feature.
Yeah.
So how would
That's
you solve that?
that's the eternal question that I keep getting asked and we keep getting asked, right? And we're trying to solve for ourselves. So the way I think about it and the way it's played out for myself is a small problem is something that solves a problem just for you. Like it's just singular. It's your problem. Bills need to be paid. You want to make a project. You want to get paid to do a certain job. That's a small problem because it only impacts you. And so because of that, you're in a race to the bottom scenario where you're saying, well, if I want to make that film, I'll do it for 30 grand. I'll do it for 50 grand. I'll do it for as cheap as possible. So I get the opportunity to make the movie
Yeah.
instead of people coming to you and saying, can I invest in your next film? And how much do you need? Those are two very different scenarios, but it's the same quote unquote problem of making a indie film. But you kind of highlighted the answer in your question, which was the first version is how do I take care of my bills? How do I take care of my company? How do I have enough clients coming in the door every month? You're solving your own problem. But as soon as you switch to here is the problem I solve for clients, everything shifts a little bit. At least it did for me in my business, where for 9 years I had a video production company, and the question we always asked ourselves was, how do we turn this into making movies? And then the problem we were solving is us making movies. And so we'd go to AFM and we'd pitch a $2 million project, and no one would give it to us because we were solving our own problem, not their problem. And everything shifted when I left that business and I went out into the marketplace and I said, okay, that business didn't work. That approach didn't work. What am I going to do differently? And instead of saying, how do I solve my problem? I went out and said, who needs help solving their problems? And the way that I can help solve that is I'm a producer. I can produce things. The first gig that I got was with Relative Race, a TV show that needed a producer who knew how to produce. And that's me. So I went in and I got hired the same day, right after the interview, at a rate that they'd never paid a producer before, a higher rate than they'd ever paid a producer before to start, because they had a really urgent problem. They were
Big
filming in
problem.
like 4 months.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'm your guy, and here's all the reasons why I can help you solve your problem. But in order for me to help you solve your problem, it costs this much. And they
Yeah.
said, okay, I guess we got to say yes because we have a problem. So that's my answer. That's the short answer is you first thing you got to do is shift from how do I solve my problem to how do I solve other people's problems.
Okay, so that makes sense. And the other people's problems then, so if I go back to that life experience, what got me out of that or what enabled me to solve that, to make that feature film was finding and identifying people who had that interest and didn't have that ability. And say that ability and the interest, you have the money and the interest. Let me solve your problem that you want to be involved in feature films, and I'm gonna help you do that.
Yeah. Huge, right? There's a phrase my friend Dan Priestley uses, which is someone woke up today with an abundance of the thing that you need. And because of that, they're willing to trade what they have for what you have, right? So this company that hired me to produce for them the TV show, they had an abundance of money. Maybe
Yeah,
not
they had a
crazy
deadline.
abundance, but they had more money than I had, and I have more producing ability than they had. And
Yeah,
so that trade led to us making a really great deal that turned into me working for them for 3 years and making
yeah.
more money with every season and becoming a really seasoned and well-paid producer. Yeah, you got to think about who has this problem. So let's hyper focus on indie film, because I think this is the question that everybody listening is asking. It's like, okay, well, how do I get more money or any money for my feature film? How do I go from making $100,000 movies to $1 million movies? How do I get distribution? How do I get big actors? How do I get a producer? All those questions are answered by solve bigger problems, right? So if you're the problem you're solving is we're going to make a movie and it solves the problem of all of our filmmaker friends to come in and work, but we don't have a lot of money to pay them. Are you really solving anyone's problem? No, not really. Like, it's just more of the same.
You're the cause. You're exacerbating the problem.
I
Yeah,
don't know that I would say it that way, but maybe it could be taken that way. But are you solving problems for investors? Not really. Are you solving problems for distributors? Not really. You're not making movies that they're going to put in theaters and make millions of dollars on. And so you're not solving their problem. And
Yeah.
so it's this insular thinking of, yes, maybe you've got 30 people now that you're impacting, but no one's actually getting better as far as having their personal problems solved. So the principle, the way it comes full circle, is when you help enough other people get what they want, you get what you want in return, which may be money or career or project wise.
So it does come full circle, Darren. I have a meeting tomorrow with somebody that called, and so again, we started the Help Them See Foundation. We've talked about that on this in this podcast, and it's a nonprofit for faith-based movies because I was identifying people that wanted to be mission driven, wanted to get faith and inspirational stories out into theaters, and were unable to do that because it was oftentimes the investment or the rate of return wasn't as enough, wasn't didn't compete well with a horror movie or something, and so there was a reluctance to invest. But once we started this nonprofit, there is an excitement to donate, right? So we're solving a problem. I got a call from a former investor, and he said, "Hey, I've seen what you're doing with the foundation, and I like the stories that you're wanting to tell, and I have a tax problem." So he is looking for a tax deduction,
Yeah.
and I'm going down to Las Vegas tomorrow to meet with him and talk about how we can help solve his problem.
Yeah, exactly. And how different a pitch is that, and a different conversation
Right?
is that? You're not talking about cameras and lenses. You're not talking about the story. You're not talking about the production value. It's not about the creative project. That's already a given because he's invested with you before. So he knows what he's getting movie wise. The problem he's trying to pay you for is a tax problem. So,
Right. So that's the pitch. Like that's the
yeah,
investment. Okay. Yep. 100% tax deduction. Now tell us where you're at with your taxes. And we get to find out and talk with him about what his problem is.
yeah,
Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And there's a number of different organizations I might be interested in donating to in order to help me get within the tax category I need to be in.
yep.
We say, okay, here's why you'd want to donate to ours.
That's brilliant. No, it's super, super cool. And everything gets easier when you're solving problems for people. And
Yeah.
so we can fast forward a little bit in my career to like going from being a lead producer on a movie, which has kind of a cap of, call it $30,000 to $50,000 per movie. That's great. Like I'm grateful for the movies I've done and the experiences I've had in the movies we've made. Like I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I hadn't done those things. But now it's like, well, do I want to keep solving this problem or do I want to solve a bigger problem? And as we've talked about with what I'm doing with Producer Fund One and Craftsman Films now, it's like it's solving a bigger problem. And I think it's adjacent to the problem you just highlighted with there are people with an abundance of the thing that we lack, which is the money. They woke up today with too much.
And
They
it
have,
won't always be that way. Just hopefully,
yeah,
FYI, knock on wood, it's not always going to be that way. But yes,
right. There
yeah.
are people who are literally saying, I have too much money. I need to get rid of some of it in strategic ways so that I don't have to get rid of more of it. Like that's a,
Right. I would rather pay a filmmaker than the government,
yeah.
which is
So
fine.
it's an interesting problem that comes from an abundance of money, right? And so I'm sitting here going, okay, well, what's the actual problem I'm solving? Well, right as it was, I'm solving a problem for a director or an executive producer who needs someone to come in, manage the budget, manage the crew, manage the schedule, and deliver a movie on time and hopefully under budget. That's a limited problem. It's bigger than being a PA. It's still limited. So if I want to solve a bigger problem, well, I needed to start looking at what are the bigger problems to solve in indie film. And I looked at all these different areas: financing, development, production, marketing, distribution, and said, oh, as I was putting it together, I started seeing that, like, oh, this is a systemic problem. The existing model, the existing system for indie film is not solving the actual problems that exist in the marketplace. And so you've got all these people that are trying to make things work, whether it's a distributor or a marketing firm or a producer or a cinematographer or a financier, and nobody's like happy with the current situation. So I'm going, oh,
Hmm.
okay, it's a systemic problem. And if we can actually provide a solution to all these different problems, then everybody gets their problem solved. And so as soon as I started going out to the marketplace and saying, I have a new model. I have a system that delivers these outcomes or is built to deliver these outcomes. Those money conversations got a lot easier because I'm not saying invest in my movie. I'm saying if you have a desire to invest in meaningful media, here is a system that is built for institutional grade allocation. you
Yeah.
know? And people are going, oh, okay, you get it. They're saying you are solving the problem I actually have, because investors don't have a problem of they don't have enough movies to invest in.
One day, we can all hope.
We can all hope. We
Yeah.
laugh, but that's what we do, right? We go, do you want to listen to my movie pitch? They go, no, I have had too many of those. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. And it's a great way to look at it, Darren. And it is an interesting approach and probably one that's a little counterintuitive because I think most indie filmmakers, when we start out, we're saying, yeah, you're right. How do we focus on my problem? My problem is I want to do this, I want to do that. And the minute we start shifting that to what do you want and how can I help you get that? I think
Yeah.
that comes back to us.
Yeah. I want to do one extra. I'll try to keep this one short, but one extra example. The movie you make is solving a problem for people. And so a lot of times people go, I have this passion project. The one I've heard a dozen times is Porter Rockwell. I got a Porter Rockwell script. I'm like, yeah, you and a dozen other people. And I've been asked to read all the scripts and I'm not interested because that doesn't solve a problem for anybody, because the marketplace is not begging for a Porter Rockwell movie. I'd say 80% of our audience probably doesn't even know who that is. And so, great. I'm glad that you have a passion. I'm glad you wrote a good script and I'm glad that you want to make it. But that doesn't solve a problem for anybody. And you look at Brotherhood, for example, and you look at the movies you're trying to make, for example, and there is demand in the marketplace for these movies that can spark conversation, that can inspire people, that can uplift people, that give people a sense of hope and inspiration coming out of the theater instead of darkness and dread, which is what we have in 80% of the theaters right now. There's not another movie I can take my family to on the weekend because we've already seen Zootopia 2 and
Yeah.
there's nothing else out there. And that's existing demand. That's a problem that is ready to be solved, which is why you and I are making these kind of family friendly, values based, faith based films, because we see all around us, including our own homes. I want to go to the theater this week with my family, and I can't give any theater $100 to see a movie I want to see in theaters right now. That's a problem. So if I can do that at scale, and there's 100,000 people or 1 million people who have that same problem, and my movie solves that problem, well, that's how you can have a $1 or $10 million box office.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an interesting conversation. And I need to just take a step back to just defend the Porter
Yeah,
Rockwell movies and stories
do it.
because honestly, I don't want to discount or discourage anyone from making their passion project. Like that is a problem that's going to be solved. Using your philosophy, how do we create? How do you identify? Let's see. How do you use that to solve a bigger problem? And I think that maybe is an opportunity where you say, look, I don't care if your movie is a Porter Rockwell movie or another horror movie or whatever. If the market is flooded with such as movies, how are you going to use that to solve a problem? And it's like, okay, I'm going to make a Porter Rockwell movie, but I'm going to put X star in it. And suddenly the distributor goes, I have a problem that I need a movie with X star, and we are solving that for them. So
Yeah,
whether that's life experience or not, whether that's worked for me or not, I feel like that is a way to say, look, make your project, man. If you're passionate about it, if you want to do Porter Rockwell, you know, your version of it, do it by all means, but make sure it's solving a bigger problem for somebody.
that's the kicker. If you want to do it and you want it to turn into profit for you and those that you work with, in influence in the marketplace, and having all of the impact that we want to have as filmmakers, then it has to solve problems. But you said it perfectly. Yeah, I don't want to discourage anybody from making their movie either, but if it's disconnected from solving problems, then it's a vanity project. It only is serving you.
Yes.
And we don't need more of those.
Nope. I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah. What a great philosophy and great mindset to just pivot around and wrap your head around and say, okay, how am I doing this? If you keep, I feel like, oh, I might be continuing to run into the same wall or the same issue with me trying to find funding for my next project. I need to expand the problem a little bit or figure out who's that's solving.
Yeah,
Hopefully, tomorrow in my meeting, we can help this guy's tax issues solving his
there you
problem.
go.
We'll keep you
I love
posted
it.
on that.
I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've hit that one. Very cool. I'm curious the response from people. So if you have questions or comments about this idea, hit us up. Shoot us an email or leave a comment somewhere and it'll get back to us and then we'll talk about it more.
You know what? One place you can hit us up is going to be at NRB.
Hey,
Darren and I are going to NRB. It's next, let's see, it's February, end of February. Is that right?
17th through the 20th of
15th through
February
20th in Memphis.
in Nashville.
I really got to get my show notes right. Sorry, Darren.
You're just testing me and I like it. It's all good.
That's right. I'm queuing you up. But we would love to sit down and talk with people, those that are familiar with the show or that are familiar with Darren's LinkedIn posts. And I'll send out my newsletter too. But it'd be fun. I'm excited. So, Darren, this came about a little bit. I went to NRB last year, met some wonderful people, chatted with distributors, and have developed these ongoing connections or relationships, supportive, I don't know, whatever it is, relationships with people, and ended up signing an agreement for Faith of Angels on a kind of a non-exclusive agreement with one of these distributors. They just reached out and said, "Hey, we'd love to see you again at NRB." And now I feel like I'm not going there as a kind of a stranger trying to find my way, but oh, there's a reason to go there, and we're going to connect and rekindle these working relationships.
Yeah. I was telling you before, and I think it's worth sharing with the greater audience here is not that they're greater than you, Garrett. You're the greatest of all.
No, I get it. I get it.
But I'm probably not going to buy a pass to the convention or the conference or whatever it is. Like, I'm going to just be in the same buildings at the same time as everybody. But, I'm setting up a dinner on the Tuesday night and I'm setting up some interviews and like, it's going to be a lot easier to just show up and do that. And I might need to buy a pass to get in the building. I don't know, but it'll be the cheap pass, not the expensive pass, because there's nothing programming wise that's solving a problem for me. The problem I'm going to solve is connecting with people in that genre space, the faith-based film and TV space and media, to say, here's a faith-based filmmaker and company and movie that's coming to theaters later this year, and you want to know about it.
Yeah.
And I'm here to talk about it. So a lot of the outreach that I'm going to be doing over the next month is not let's go to this same meeting or presentation together, but like, let's meet in the lobby at 11 o'clock and we'll do a podcast interview or something like that. So it's being really strategic around why you're going. And I'm not just going to solve my problem. I'm going to solve the problem of the thousands of people that are in attendance. So I can look at the list of distributors and media outlets and go, oh, I can solve that problem and I can solve that problem. And I should tell them that I'm going to be there and I can solve their problem.
Yeah.
And it's literally that in practice at an event like NRB.
I would love to record a couple episodes out there. So if you are listening and you are going to NRB, look us up or send us an email, and let's line you up to record an episode. It'd be neat to chat with you.
Amazing. Yeah, we can make all that happen.
Okay. All right, good. And NRB has done a good job of solving that problem for those that maybe don't want the full-blown pass or something like that. I think I bought a convention-only pass or something last time, and very affordable and worth it to be able to make those connections.
Yeah. I'm excited to check it out. I hear it's a good time, and I'm already getting some invites from people about dinners and meetups and stuff like that. And honestly, I think that's where a lot of the deeper connections that you walk home with and are stem from is those sit downs where you can spend 30 minutes or an hour with people. Those are the relationships. If it's just like you meet them in a circle of people and you exchange business cards, that's not what it is anymore.
It's hard to, yep. Okay, I'm excited, Darren. We'll keep people posted on that. And again, thank you very much for sharing your feedback on our episodes. We love reading that, and I look forward to talking more about it next week.
Awesome. Okay, see you.
This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Thanks for joining us. If you are enjoying Truly Independent, please share and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the journey. Today's episode was edited by Michael Bradford and produced by 3 Coin Productions.